Hello, and welcome to this podcast, Channeling Love, because I'm learning that my journey in this human body is about channeling love. It's about raising the frequency of Earth through my own body, and as I channel love with the intention of healing myself and the world, it begins with myself. In order to be a healer, I have to clean up my own frequency and vibration. And really, I don't think that ever ends. I'm just going to constantly be cleaning it up because I took on a lot. And it's a tedious job. I just got the metaphor that untangling my ego and the story that I have been conditioned to believe as my reality, to detangle all of that and to find a new definition. It requires taking thistles out of like a cat hair. Like imagine a cat ran through thistles and you had to pick each thistle out. It's like that. It's like you have to do it slowly and meticulously, and it takes time. It's not something you can't just shift into joy and bliss from low frequency, constant emotions immediately. It takes time. So I'm just sitting here like channeling for myself, and I realized I want to record it because it can be universal. So anyways, I just recently went through kind of like something shocking that shook my core about what I believe, and is this real? Because, I know of other channels and I know my whole life story, and I really feel like this is where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be doing, but nothing is actually tangible about it. I mean, it's all just talking to non-physical. It's all just listening to your intuition. It's all just belief. And it was a really heavy thing that I just went through. And I really had to ask myself if this is what I believe in. And what I've come to is that I really do believe in it. And I learned, though, that not everybody is on the same path, and obviously that's okay, but it's hard to swallow that my truth is different from other people's, and it's hard to accept your own intuition if other people are adamant against it, and I'm still processing all of that, but I'm finding a way to, it's actually really interesting because it is such a big deal that I had to continuously face it. It was either believe it and kind of realize this break from reality that I used to know, or kind of hide it from myself and kind of ignore this challenging way of seeing the world. And every time I would start to forget or start to feel better and just kind of like ignore it, something would happen that would bring it back to life again. So anyways, the point is that my guides told me I have to be more disciplined, that I actually have to clean up my life more in order to receive a stronger channeling. And that's kind of what's been disappointing, is that the channeling is very weak. It's very much like I have to reach for it. And so the good thing is, though, that I'm actually being more healthy. I'm not drinking coffee every day. I haven't had wine in like a week, which doesn't sound like a long time, but it's not really about what it did. It's more about my awareness of what I want for myself. And I really want clarity, and I really want happiness, and I want to feel clean, clarity, and I just want to feel clean, how you just go for a jog or something, and afterwards you feel like you just like released a bunch of toxins, and you feel clean and you feel good about yourself. That's the overall feeling that I want for myself. And I do trust my guides. I mean, what's wrong with cleaning up yourself? I mean, everything that my guides tell me, I still have a choice to believe or not believe, or accept or do, what they suggest or not. And if it feels good and I agree with it, calling it a channeling or saying it's just a thought that I had doesn't really matter, because it is all from my higher self. So what is channeling? Am I channeling a spirit guide named Beatrice? Or am I sitting with myself and being really honest with what is my highest wisdom? Because as we go through life, we're pushed around by distractions. We go for a walk and a dog is barking, and it pulls our attention into whether that's annoying or whether we have a feeling about that dog, or it's just a distraction from going for a walk. And when you sit and channel, what you're doing is you're blocking out all the distractions so that you can just listen to the highest wisdom that's within you. And I think eventually it won't be called channeling. It will just be focused, concentrated thinking. That's what it will be. It won't be a message from another spirit. And that makes sense, because even with the guides that I listen to, they say in the non-physical realm that we are all one. There is no separation. Even when we ask for our spirit guides to give us a name, they sort of chuckle a little bit and say, well, okay, if you need a name, we'll give you a name. But really, that's not how it works. They are all intertwined, and it's a soup. So when we're talking to our higher self, what we're actually doing is reaching for the higher truth of our purpose as we are sitting in this consciousness. So before we're born, we're a spirit, and we have a purpose. We have a lineage. We have a history, a story that we've experienced up until now, and it's leading somewhere else. So as we are that ball of energy, that consciousness, and that point in space, that point in consciousness that has experienced what it has experienced and has created the desire for what it has created the desire for, in that moment of contrast between past and future, between experience and desire, we choose what our next experience will be. And we lay out a plan in order to experience it. And we will, in that experiencing of what we are invested in or setting an intention for, we will then discover new intentions and new contrast that gives birth to new desires. And that's everything. That's how it all works. All of space, time, earth, non-physical, outer space, all of it is just different pinpoints in consciousness deciding one way or another what they prefer. And that's it. That's all it is. It's just God discovering reality. God is discovering his own creation, her own creation, through different aspects of himself, herself, because there's no gender in source. So there is no right and wrong. There's no good and bad. It's just sometimes it is actually helpful to know yourself, to experience what is low frequency or considered negativity. But as you elevate out of it, you see that it was caused by a karmic lesson or ignorance, or, there was some impetus that caused it that doesn't make anybody or anything ultimately bad. It's just that was a necessary experience for that point in consciousness when evil does exist. And so that's why there's no judgment, because that lesson that entity chose to take on in a quote unquote evil or negative aspect taught all of creation about that negativity. So all of creation can look at that experience and then have its own reaction to it. And ultimately, I think it comes around to returning to love. It comes about, they say in A Course in Miracles that God's child had a question, what if I was separate from God? And then God's child broke away from God and then began to experience duality, good and bad, light and dark. And eventually went through the entire experience of experiencing that, and then choosing love again, choosing wholeness again. And in doing that, God's child realized that being a part of God was what it preferred to being not a part of it. And so it was just an act of free will that God grants his child to have that experience of separateness. And the child is protected the whole time from not being forever separated by the truth that wholeness is ultimately reality. And that's just part where we're within that mythology right now, experiencing the duality of reality. And it's my belief system that it's time to return back to the unity of the one. And it's gonna look like a bunch of cleaning up. And I hit on some dark stuff, and it scared me. But as I turned to my guides, they comforted me and soothed me and told me ultimately that good will come from this. And that's what I should focus on. If being scared of it doesn't feel good, then I should focus on the good that's going to come from it. And amazing. It just feels so much lighter and better. And I don't know, there's so much magic out there that I think I'm ready to embrace it. So anyways, I know this was kind of random. I'll have to listen to this again and see how bizarre it sounded, because it wasn't a very linear monologue. And anyways, sending blessings out there to whoever is out there, and much love. Namaste.